wild boars have now become a nightmare for residents across Europe. They constantly invade and devastate crops. Despite repeated hunting efforts, their numbers continue to grow, forcing local farmers to persistently confront the problem. In today's video, join us as we follow Tony and his team on their challenging hunt. Let's see how it unfolds. Early in the morning, Tony and his team position themselves in a freshly harvested field, open terrain with no cover left for the boars to hide. Here, even the slightest mistake would let their targets escape. A massive wild boar suddenly burst from the tall grass, weighing nearly 100 kilograms and sprinting like a bullet. Without hesitation, Tony and his team immediately gave chase in their vehicle. After intense pursuit, he took careful aim and dropped the beast with a single well-placed shot. Emboldened by this initial success, the team combed through the entire area with renewed determination, leaving no boar unchecked. After hours of tracking, Tony finally pinpointed the lead boar's movement. Without delay, an ambush plan was set into motion. Each second passed in breathless silence. Boom! A crisp gunshot rang out the moment the target appeared. The boar collapsed less than a meter from Tony. Once again, his experience and composure secured him another prized trophy. Before he could celebrate, a strange rustling erupted from the distant dry grass. As Tony moved closer to investigate, a massive boar suddenly charged straight at him. With no time to hesitate, his fingers instinctively squeezed the trigger. Years of hunting experience paid off. The perfectly placed shot stopped a potentially deadly attack mere inches away. After an exhausting day of hunting, the wild boar population showed no signs of dwindling. There were simply too many. So Tony and his team made a bold decision: light operation. As darkness fell and the air turned biting cold, prime conditions for boar hunting, they located their first targets within minutes. Through thermal scopes, the boars stood out vividly, making them easy marks. In just a few hours, they eliminated numerous targets, dramatically thinning the local boar population. The hunt continues relentlessly. At this moment, we're pursuing a fleeing wild boar. Despite its surprising speed, I manage to adjust my rifle and fire in rapid succession. Near the tree line in the distance, another sounder of boars wanders while foraging. Sensing imminent danger, they immediately wheel around and flee in panic. But Tony, ever prepared, needs only seconds to lock onto his target. With surgical precision, his shots find their mark, dropping the boar with centimeter-level accuracy. As night fell, the wild boars emerged in greater numbers, and these were even bigger specimens. In a coordinated moment, Tony and his team unleashed a synchronized volley of fire. When the gun smoke cleared, the boars lay lifeless on the forest floor. From their strategically chosen firing positions, they continued eliminating targets with deadly precision. One shot, one kill. As the hunt concluded, though the hunt yielded a significant number of kills, the size of the fleeing herd made one thing clear. These operations would continue until the wild boar population was brought under control. Crops wiped out. Hunters must act decisively against the monstrous horde. In France, wild boars are causing severe economic losses, inflicting millions of dollars in damage and raising concerns about disease outbreaks. Faced with this situation, hunters must swiftly step in to halt their destruction. Will today's battle stop these monstrous beasts in time? Thrilling hunts and precise trigger pulls will be vividly showcased right now. Follow along and pick the hunt that impresses you the most. Early in the morning, Thomas's team gathers and heads out in an off-road vehicle to a field in France. Upon arrival, the team swiftly disperses to their pre-assigned positions. After 10 minutes, a hunter carefully scans the area when a familiar silhouette darts across his line of sight. Without hesitation, he pulls the trigger and gunshots ring out in rapid succession. The last beast collapses onto the green grass with no chance of escape. The opening move is decisive and swift, marking the team's first victory. Continuing to search for traces of wild boars, a hunter spots one frantically fleeing from a distance. He immediately rushes to cut it off, leaving it no escape route. At the moment the prey is just a few meters away, a bullet flies out, striking the beast with pinpoint accuracy. It collapses to the ground instantly. A single moment's delay could have led to unpredictable consequences. A high-speed battle is unfolding on a nearby field. At this moment, Thomas takes aim while his teammates maneuver closer to the beast's position. A barrage of gunfire erupts across the field, taking down each boar one by one. In just a few minutes, the monstrous horde is wiped out, leaving only their scattered carcasses across the field. A swift sweep restores peace to this land. Deep in the forest, another hunting team has set up an ambush, determined to let no boar escape. Just minutes later, a wild boar foraging for food falls into James' crosshairs. Not giving it a chance to react, a bullet is fired instantly, and the boar collapses on the spot. Another threat to this forest is put to an end. At another position, a hunter lies in wait, ready for the prey to appear. Suddenly, rustling sounds nearby, and his eyes instantly scan the area. A wild boar bursts out of the bushes, fast as an arrow. Without hesitation, the first shot rings out, but misses. The beast quickly darts deeper into the brush ahead, thinking it has escaped. But this time, the hunter takes precise aim and pulls the trigger. The animal collapses instantly, unable to resist further. Another threat is neutralized right where it thought it was safe. Outside the forest, the relentless barking of hunting dogs signals the location of a wild boar. James swiftly rushes forward, and right in his line of sight, a boar lies still, ignoring the dog's barks nearby. At that very moment, he fires, the bullet instantly striking the beast's body. A precise, decisive shot, eliminating any potential threat in the blink of an eye. Amid rugged terrain teeming with danger, hordes of wild boars gather to take refuge. But today, fearless hunters venture straight into their lair to track down these ferocious beasts. Do they have the grit to take down the savage horde? Breathtaking moments, from treacherous swamps to dark, dense forests, are about to unfold. Join us to witness every shot that marks their triumphant hunt, coming up next. Rugged terrain, conquering wild boars in the muddy lands. The hunt across the Texas swamps will be the first battleground for today's clash. Deep within the marsh, Nick quickly spots a herd of wild boars foraging together. In an instant, he locks onto his target and pulls the trigger. The gunshot echoes, sending the herd scattering in panic, leaving behind the body of a hefty boar on the leaf-strewn ground. A precise, clean shot, an impressive opening to this thrilling pursuit.
Right in front of you.
Oh! Get him yet!
At the clearing near the swamp, a lone wild boar, leisurely foraging, falls squarely into John's crosshairs. Without hesitation, he adjusts his rifle's aim and squeezes the trigger. The shot rings out, striking the beast dead on, leaving its lifeless body motionless on the ground. Another threat neutralized, another triumph added to the team's tally. Continuing to track the trail to the eastern edge of the swamp, John quickly spots his target. A wild boar, engrossed in foraging, remains oblivious to the hunter's presence. Selecting the optimal position and angle, he pulls the trigger. Flawlessly executed, the beast collapses instantly, without a chance to resist. Almost simultaneously, the familiar sound of gunfire echoes from other ambush points, signaling the mission's success. The threat is swiftly neutralized, ensuring these beasts won't ravage the farmer's crops, at least for today. A decisive shot rings out through the dense forest, where another hunting team has just arrived in their familiar vehicle. Upon reaching the site, they swiftly move to their pre-assigned positions. Mere minutes later, a wild boar ambles directly into Leon's crosshairs. Waiting for the perfect moment, a single gunshot shatters the silence, and the beast collapses instantly. An impeccably precise shot, eliminating yet another threat to the forest. At the same moment, deep within the forest, a hidden marksman spots a herd of wild boars entering his line of sight. A rapid succession of shots rings out, striking 2 boars at the rear while the lead boar escapes into the dense woods. Outside the forest, the barking of hunting dogs echoes. Instantly, a massive wild boar emerges. Without hesitation, a barrage of bullets is unleashed, cutting off the beast's escape route. To ensure no mistakes, the hunter approaches closer and delivers a final decisive shot, completely neutralizing the threat. This meticulous takedown reveals just how cunning these beasts are, keeping the hunters ever vigilant. Another area is cleanly secured, restoring peace to the land overrun by these creatures.
Good anytime.
My grandparents' farm has suffered repeated damage from wild boars, with the crops taking heavy losses. Now that they've grown old and can no longer guard the land like they used to, that piece of land has become more vulnerable than ever. That's why my cousin Magnus and I decided to head out to go on a hunting trip to protect our beloved family farm. We started moving into the swampy area right next to the farm around 4 p.m., just as the wild boars began foraging. The feed we had scattered earlier had started to do its job, quickly attracting one of the boars. I climbed up a tall tree branch, hiding behind the thick brush. From up here, I had the perfect shooting. Slowly, I raised my gun and aimed at the target. Bang! Got it. I exhaled, heart still racing with excitement. A precise shot, fast and clean, instantly brought down the boar. After that first success, I moved to a new ambush spot. We stuck to our previous strategy, laying down bait to lure the boars.
Dropped him.
I waited for about 20 minutes before a group finally showed up. Oh, not very big in size, but there were quite a few of them. I adjusted my scope. The target this time was the one on the outer edge. Once I was sure it was within my sights, I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the swamp. Another precise hit, another win on our mission to track down these wild intruders. My friend Magnus wasn't far off. He had just spotted a new target and was preparing to shoot. The animal kept moving, so Magnus had to be patient, waiting for the perfect moment. Once it stepped into a vulnerable position, a pellet from his air rifle struck it down instantly. In under 5 seconds, the boar collapsed before it could even let out a cry. Unlike previous hunts, on these 2 afternoons we chose to ambush from the treetops. The height gave us better visibility, made us harder to detect, and offered more safety. But it also came with risks. A single misstep could lead to a fall, so every movement had to be made with care. When the boars appeared, my heart started pounding. I locked onto my target and pulled the trigger. Got it. I couldn't hide my joy seeing the boar drop instantly. A fatal shot had immobilized it completely. That thrill, it felt like every effort we made had truly paid off. Boars are naturally cautious creatures, but the irresistible scent of bait drew them closer, unaware they were being watched. Seizing the chance, Magnus raised his rifle and took aim. The moment the target was centered in the scope, the shot rang out. It wasn't loud, but it was deadly. 2 boars dropped on the spot. Wow, perfect, powerful shots. A performance any hunter would admire. Our previous location had been exposed, so I had no choice but to quickly relocate to a new ambush point. Before I could even get fully settled, a herd of boars suddenly appeared. A big mistake on their part, but a golden opportunity for us. I swiftly took aim, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger. The sharp crack of the rifle rang out. A clean, decisive shot ended the boar's life in an instant. Satisfaction washed over me. A well-earned reward for the focus and patience that had carried me. Wild boars are becoming increasingly fierce and stubborn. With their sharp tusks, these beasts ravage the land, destroying the crops that farmers have tended with sweat and toil. They hide deep within the forest, daring any pursuers to follow. But who will stop these monsters? It's us, the hunters brave enough to face danger. One careless moment, and you could pay the price. How will this hunt end? Do you have the courage to follow me and take down the prey? Fully armed, we were ready to venture deep into the forest. The cunning beasts never reveal themselves in predictable ways, but we were prepared to face them, even in the darkness of the jungle. We began tracking the wild boar's trail. While carefully scanning every bush, trying to determine the direction of the prey, suddenly a wild boar dashed across our line of sight. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle, took aim, and adjusted to its running path. The gunshot echoed. The bullet hit its mark. The boar collapsed to the ground, not even taking another step. We quickly moved to another spot, where the sound of rustling had just come from deep within the thick bushes.
You!
Right at that moment, a panicked wild boar burst out of the undergrowth. I immediately raised my rifle, aimed straight at its body, and pulled the trigger without delay. The bullet shot out, slamming directly into the beast. It stumbled, then collapsed to the ground. We continued moving, following the remaining tracks of the wild boars. Suddenly, a panicked boar charged straight toward me. I instantly raised my rifle, aiming along its path of movement. When it was just a few meters away, I pulled the trigger. The first shot hit its leg, causing it to stumble, but it still tried to flee. I wasn't about to let it escape. I fired a second shot. The gun cracked through the forest, and this time, the boar collapsed completely, with no chance of giving up. The loud barking of the hunting dogs echoed, and I immediately moved toward the source. As I got closer, I could clearly hear the cries of a wild boar coming from inside the dense bushes. I gripped my rifle tightly, ready for a confrontation. A dark shape flickered behind the foliage the leader of the herd had just appeared. Without hesitation, I raised my gun, aimed directly at it, and pulled the trigger. It collapsed instantly. The entire herd panicked and scattered in all directions. I quickly turned, fired at another one, and dropped it on the spot. Not letting the chance slip away, I aimed at the fleeing ones and squeezed the trigger 2 more times, but both shots missed. It had already run too fast. Suddenly, one of them darted between the trees, sprinting fast through the forest. I immediately raised my rifle, chambered a round, steadied my stance, and took careful aim. As it came closer, I pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the forest. The boar was hit and dropped to the ground instantly with no chance to escape. We picked up the pace, determined to take down the remaining wild boars. The hunt had to end soon before night swallowed everything. The moment I caught sight of a silhouette ahead, I immediately took cover, gripped my rifle tight, eyes locked on the target. Waiting for the perfect moment as it ran past, I raised the gun, pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the boar square in the body, dropping it on the spot. This hunt, we claimed victory protecting the land and crops from the destruction of the wild boars. But for hunters like us, the story never ends there.